Just don't get too far, and I'll be right where you are.
Well, hello Pisces. Welcome to your end of June reading. I know that I am late, but I won't take up too much of your time. If you are new, welcome to my channel. I'm Princess India, and if you're family, welcome back, my friend. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into you guys' reading and see what's going on in you guys' love life. And then we are going to end with the dice of resonance and new dice that I got that I'm creating a system around because I just think that they're cool. But anywho, they're fresh, you know, from China. But anyway, so let's go ahead and look into what's going on in your love life for the end of June going into July. So, Spirit, can I please get clear and direct guidance for my Piscean peoples for the end of June going into July? Please, Spirit, anything they need to know anything about. Most important to ask that comes to the forefront in this here reading. And as always, I thank you in advance, Spirit. All right, so let's see. What is going on for Pisces? First card that we have is the Six of Swords. And we're talking about, whoa, okay, and more cards fall out. Well, let me say what I was about to say about this before I look at these cards and they completely threw me off my train of thought. So, with the Six of Swords, the main thing that you guys are dealing with going into July is breaking routines and or cycles in relation to your love life, right? Because something I constantly always say, I won't say constantly, but that I often say, is that wherever you go, there you are, right? So what we're really talking about here is a mindset. So it's a mindset that Pisces has in relation to love connections and relationships. It's something that's cyclical. It's something that, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's away from this particular situation. So this goes for whether if you're single or in a couple. What is the word I'm looking for? It's almost, I can't think of what the word is, but it's like when something is like not involved, it's not like a free agent, but it's kind of like this is a pattern that occurs not just in this particular relationship or just in your last particular relationship. It is a pattern that occurs in every relationship that you've ever had, and it's very much intricately related into a mindset, right? So the main situation we're dealing with going into July is identifying those mindsets and breaking those patterns that are interrelated with them, right? So the next card that fell out was a whole bunch of them. The next one is the King of Swords. Then we have the Ten of Wands and the Three of Pentacles. So let me see here. Main issue that we're dealing with. Ooh, goodness. It's a whole lot of stuff. Is disassociation. Disassociation and using people. I'm trying to get this out of my head. Using people, sometimes substances. It's like a codependency would be the quickest way for me to say it. But it's like a surrogate, using something or someone as a surrogate. So more or less, okay, if we're talking about like breaking mental patterns, right? And this is ironic because I literally just had this conversation today with a Pisces. Two Pisces. Anyway, but what we're talking about is there's a behavior that's linked to this mindset, and it's like a codependent type of behavior, right? And this behavior is utilizing people, things, and substances outside of the self. And if we're talking about like a person who's in a relationship who cheats, it would be being emotionally unfulfilled in that partnership and going to friends, people, and when we were having this conversation, I was thinking that's funny because it could even be your therapist to supplement for the lack thereof of emotional connection in your partnership, right? So the whole issue is here, the reason why Spirit is pointing out that it's important to note that this is devoid of the person that you're with right now, or were with more recently if you're single, and thinking that that's just something you experience with them. The thing that Spirit is really pointing out is that this is a mindset that follows you and will continue to follow you in every relationship you're in until you change it, right? Because first you have to identify it. Second, you have to accept that this is something I'm actually doing, and then we take action steps to reverse this pattern, right? So it's more or less like a faulty coping mechanism, and it causes either feeling overwhelmed or feeling unfulfilled in a partnership, right? And inadvertently supplementing what's lacking in the partnership by going to either other people, meaning cheating, right? Or going to other people like friends, right? And saying things to friends that you can't say to your partner, or feel like you can't say to your partner. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like using a substance or a person as an emotional surrogate outside of your partnership is the coping skill that needs to be identified and changed, that's very much interlinked into a mindset. And this is a pattern that replicates itself in love relationships, right? And like I said, putting it all together, it leaves you feeling overburdened, like you're bearing the weight of the world when you don't necessarily have to. Because if this mindset changes and thus the actions in relationships change, then you can have more rewarding experiences, if that's making sense, right? So the whole thing that's also important too with the Three of Pentacles is understanding the importance of feeling safe, secure, and supported in a partnership, like knowing that both people are working together. Now, looking at this again, like in a more linear fashion, it's kind of pinging on two things: a personal responsibility thing of how we're thinking, and then now stepping outside of the self and looking at the relationships that we're getting in the first place. Because with the King of Swords, we could be talking about a person who is emotionally unavailable, or a person who just doesn't, either is inept in the emotional realm or doesn't really know how to maneuver in the emotional realm, and they're dealing with an intellectualized expression or understanding of love, right? And if that's really not your stilo, it can be feeling unloved. And this is where we would be talking about I cannot talk. This is what we would be talking about in a partnership where say that, your partner isn't a completely horrible person, but you have trouble like connecting, and it feels like communicating feels cumbersome or burdensome in a sense. And that's what this would fall into the realm of needing to understand, like, each other's love language, like how it is that you're communicating. So if it's not that, your partner is treating you horribly, and it's just the fact that you guys, like, you care about each other, but it's just feeling like needs aren't getting met, there's a need to put energy and effort into kind of understanding how the other one is communicating, right? And meeting each other halfway with that. So it's like I'm seeing this a couple of different ways, but the main thing is breaking whatever pattern has been happening within the relationship. So for those of you where it's just issues you have with communicating with each other, like you're kind of saying the same thing in two different ways, it's a need for each other to understand the other. And if this is someone who's dealing with a person where the relationship isn't necessarily healthy, and in order to maintain the relationship, you have to kind of go to a third party in order to have your needs fulfilled, because it's clear that this person isn't fulfilling your needs at all, and they're not really putting or attempting to put energy or effort into kind of meeting you halfway. It's a need to identify the mindset, because the mindset is what got you into the situation in the first place, right? And coping the way that we've been coping. And it's a need to make a decision in reference to, does this have the potential for the person to reciprocate, right? Like, have they put actions towards showing me that they're attempting to reciprocate? And if not, it's making a a decision to move into something that's more in alignment with what it is that you're looking for, right? Now, looking at what actions we want to take going forward in reference to this. I hope that makes sense, y'all. Whoa. We have the Seven of Pentacles. And it's really needing to put, and I don't know if this is for you or if this is for your person, but if I'm talking to like a single Pisces, it would be saying, this would be showing what has been a problem in past relationships. So it's like if a Pisces is single right now and you're watching this, what this would be saying to me is that the number one thing that Spirit wants you to focus on for the end of June going into July, right? Or what could be, because this is the full moon today, what's being made clear to you today could be to break a cycle of thought in how it is that you connect with other people. Meaning, underneath it all, I'm desiring to express my feelings, my needs, my emotions, so on and so forth, but it's being incapable of communicating that or not knowing how to express that, right? So it's either, going to friends or shutting down or going to have a couple of glasses of wine or talking to your mom, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to connecting with your partner and saying, hey, I'm not feeling this in this partnership, or I'm feeling like this isn't really, XYZ, whatever your complaint would be. And working with that person to compromise, to meet each other halfway, to facilitate each other's needs being met, right? Or identifying the fact that that your needs have not been met in past partnerships, or you haven't felt safe, or you haven't felt supported. It hasn't felt like a team effort, but still not saying anything and falling into what could be like passive aggression to attempt to get one's needs met, right? But it's more or less identifying that mindset and, like I said, admitting that within the self and doing the personal work in order to get there, and setting what the Three of Pentacles symbolizes as the standard for a relationship going forward, meaning that you want someone where you feel a sense of reciprocity, stability, security, support, and so on and so forth, right? And the other thing with that is, for my single Pisces people, it would be if in any way you see that on the other side, you would be that person that has trouble like emotionally opening up or speaking what it is that you're desiring from a partnership. It's making the decision to put energy into expressing how you feel about your partner. Like if the shoe is kind of on the other foot and your partner is always complaining about, well, not always complaining, but issues you have in your partnership is your partner saying that, I know you love me, I know you care about me, but I don't really feel like we're connecting emotionally, or, I don't feel safe, blah, 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 whatever the case may be, but it's putting energy into that. Now, for my coupled people, if we're talking about a coupled situation or someone who's seeing someone presently, there's two different situations I'm seeing in these cards. The first would be, it would fall under the category of like either, unhappy relationship or like situationship, right? So it would be a habit of like self-protection, being afraid to speak your needs, right? So utilizing other people as emotional surrogates or substances to supplement the emotional fulfillment you're not getting from your partner, right? And feeling overwhelmed by this, right? And this is more or less letting you know that you can't be in a relationship by yourself, meaning you can't be the only person who's making it a priority to put time, effort, and energy into something, right? So if you feel like you're the only person who's putting time, energy, and effort into a partnership, and you feel like your partner is lacking in that even after having explained this to them, it's one, if we want to self-reflect first and see it, is there any way that I'm not expressing myself, right? So that's me backstepping a tad bit, saying that if you feel as if your partner isn't meeting your needs, but you've never communicated it, there's a need to check yourself on that first, because people are not mind readers, right? We can't just expect a person to fulfill a need that, one, we should be fulfilling for ourselves, or two, that we've never communicated, you know? And then the second would be, if you have communicated this to the person and they have yet to reciprocate, then you need to know that in a healthy relationship, a partner is going to reciprocate, especially when you identify needs, right? Saying that, you know, whatever it is that your need is, because I could go into a myriad of different examples, but identifying whatever it is that your need is. But if your partner has a blatant disregard for your needs and is not putting effort into like bridging this gap, it's time for you to make a decision based on knowing that that's supposed to happen in a healthy relationship. So it's up to you to make a decision on if you want to stick with this or not. Now, that group aside, speaking to people who are specifically in like couplings, right? And you love your partner loves you, and you're fully aware that the two of you love each other, but you just have issues with communicating, either because that's one of the partners, you know, says everything that, like, communicates all of their needs or problems or whatever with a parent, sibling, friend, and doesn't really say that to the partner, you know, or if the two of you express love differently, it's saying that a sacrifice needs to be made between the two people in the couple in order to meet each other halfway. Meaning, if my partner is like intellectualizes love or understands it in an intellectual sense and does things like having a love language of, like, you know, acts of service. I see that your car needed to be washed and I went to go wash it, right? That's saying I love you. Or, and the other partner is someone who needs, you know, physical touch. And it's like, when you know, touch me and things of the sort, that makes me feel loved. It's needing to make a compromise where we're sacrificing on both ends to meet each other halfway, saying, well, I recognize that you communicate love through acts of service. So when you do wash my car, I understand now that that's you saying that you love me, right? But on the other end, it's the partner saying, even though that's how I communicate, I understand that you need physical touch to feel validated. So I'm going to make a sacrifice to start being more physically affectionate so that you know that, you know, I love you, without having to sacrifice how they communicate love, and vice versa, if that makes sense. So that's what the sacrifice would be. Instead of going 100 communicating love just solely through acts of service, it's not sacrificing the way that you communicate love, but it's incorporating like an additional 50% into how it is that your partner communicates love, and making that sacrifice to not communicate love the way that I cannot talk, y'all, because I don't know, I feel like the similar energy I felt for y'all's new moon reading, where I'm just like, ugh. But anyway, so it's not like reneging the way that you normally communicate love, but it's adding to that, that your partner needs to have love expressed to them in another way, and it's putting the energy into meeting each other halfway by doing that for each other. And I really hope that makes sense. Oh my goodness. So in the Lurkers Lounge, we're going to look at the extended. I'm going to look at a couple of different things. I really like how this came out, because I feel like this gives you a lot to think about. But the thing that I'm going to look at for my single people is like what you're desiring, what you're fearing, and what your lessons are, like additional lessons in relation to a love partner, and any information I could pick up on a new person that may be coming in. Because I feel like the only reason why Spirit would kind of be bringing up patterns that my single Pisces have had in past relationships would be that it's in preparation for you to know what to recognize in a person that's coming in. So I'm going to look at that. And then for my people who are kind of in situationships, I'm going to look at how the person is thinking and feeling about you, and any steps that you guys will want to take going forward in relation to this. And then for my couple people, I want to look at any additional information that can help you guys out with kind of bridging this gap in communication and like love expression. So the link for that is below, but I'm going to toss out the dice of resonance. And if you want to ask a yes or no question, go ahead and formulate that now. Pause me if you need to. You know what I'm saying and whatnot or whatever. All right. Oh, that's funny. We have Pisces. We have Aries. We have Sun. The answer to your question is yes. And we have crush. So for those of you Pisceans out there who got a crush on somebody, like an Aries, you know, it's the reason why Spirit got all this stuff about your mindset coming up, you know. So Pisces, Aries, yes. Sun and crush. Now we're going to use my new dice. They got planets on here, and I do not know the symbolism for planets, so y'all don't judge me. All right. We have Taurus, the number 11. Interesting. And what the heck is that? Wait, let me look at my cheat sheet. I don't know what planet that is, y'all. What planet is that? This is what it looks like. For those of you astrology experts out there, y'all probably know. I don't know yet. Let me look. That is... What is that? Oh, Uranus. Uranus. I want to make a joke about that, but I'm not. Let's see. Uranus is unpredictability, changes, and reformation. And it rules Aquarius. So whatever that means to you. And then we have the number 11. I look at the number 11 as a gateway number. But this could also mean, since we're going to the end of June, the 11th of July could be of relevance, or the month of November could be of some relevance. And Taurus just all up in here in people business and things and whatnot or whatever. But anyway, that's been your end of June reading, Pisces. We're going to go over to the Lurkers Lounge on Vimeo. If you're about that life, meet me over there. If not, I love your freaking face. Okay, so I lied. On second thought, I'm back. Only because when I went to go do the extended Pisces, a channeled message came through, dude, and this is probably the most magnanimous love reading I have probably ever done, but I can't really take credit for it because the best part is the information that I channeled. And all of that is in the extended. But I came back to share the first part of it with you guys that came from, I don't know what we're going to call the new dice. It wasn't from the dice of resonance. It was from my new dice that I got from China. And the number 11 came up, and then Uranus came up, right? And of course, Taurus came up too. But the main thing that Spirit honed in on was Uranus. And I said, you know, when I ended the video a few seconds ago, that it was ruled by Aquarius, right? So as I'm starting to do the extended, it's like Spirit just starts talking to me and told me to look up Aquarius in Uranus, right? So to look it up almost as if, like say it was in a person's birth chart, right? So to look up what the meaning of that was, right? And as I'm reading it, it's like Spirit just started expounding on what came out in the dice. And since I threw it in the YouTube video, I figured I would come back to share this with you guys in the event that you don't go to the extended, right? So it says Uranus rules Aquarius. Think outside of the box, right? The element and the qualities of Aquarius or Uranus in Aquarius is air, and it's fixed, right? So this is where the channeling starts. And it says, as above, so below, unplugging. The goal is to unplug from the tree of good and evil, or black and white, right? So that's kind of like a dyad way of thinking, of seeing everything as either all good or all bad. If we say it in psychology terms, it's the maladaptive cognitive process of black and white thinking, right? So everything is always all good or all bad, and only seeing things in those two extremes. And it's to reattune to the tree of life in the sense of looking at life in a more fluid construct, right? Or as the Our Father prayer states, on earth as it is in heaven. It's imperative to note you are heaven on earth. The task of transformation lies in manifesting what is within heaven to without earth. And then the number 11, and my word, the intuitive intellectual, existing in a state of balance between our divinity and humanity. Balance is not a state to be achieved, but rather a present state of being. And then Spirit was telling me to tell my story of how I teach people what balance is. The biggest misconception when we're trying to understand being balanced is with the mindset of what the knowledge of tree and evil, the knowledge of good and evil tree represents, is that dyad way of thinking, meaning that either we don't have it or we do, right? All or nothing type of thinking. So when we approach something like balance from that mindset, we're under the false perception. I can't talk, y'all. I'm trying to get so much stuff out. Because this energy is heavy. We're under the false perception that balance is something that we go through steps to achieve and then possess, right? That's not what balance is. The easiest way that I explain what balance is to my clients is like driving a car. It's like when you're driving your car on the interstate, it's like it's a straight shot. But in order for you to stay in your lane, it's like you're not holding your wheel like this and like driving like that, right? Because eventually you would start to careen into the other lane. How is it that we stay in our lane? It's minor adjustments that we're making to the steering wheel, right? To make sure that we stay straight. So that's pretty much representative of how it is that we maintain balance in our life. It's not about getting there and holding on to it with dear life. It's minor adjustments that we're constantly making every day, right? Or throughout the course of the day, minutes, hours, what have you, to maintain the state that we're on to get to our destination, right? And that's also representative of the temperance card. That's why the angel is kind of, balancing the water back and forth, because that is a state of maintaining balance. It's not something we aspire to achieve and we're just balanced, right? It's always going to require work, right? So the goals going forward for the self and for your love relationships are applying innovation, trailblazing. To apply innovation and trailblazing to revolutionize your life and love life to be truly first of its kind and one of a kind. This is achieved by transmuting old patterns of thinking and doing with yourself and with the other. The things that you want to aim for are intellectual pursuits, scientific methods, progressive thinking, practice of self-compassion. Things that you would want to release is detachment, which is what we talked about in the reading, impersonal connections. So meaning like people that are in our lives and there's not really any type of connection or true emotional fulfillment or support. It's just kind of like a prop, like a person who's just there for the sake of being there, but doesn't really fulfill our needs, which is another thing we talked about in the reading. You want to gain control over scattered thinking and forgetfulness, and being in a state of aloofness with others. So in other words, kind of like the King of Swords card that came up, it's like kind of being in your head and not truly engaging with other people to cultivate more meaningful relationships. So that is the first part of the channel message. For those of you who are going to the extended, that kind of transforms into, and this is so insane, you guys, and I have to thank Pisces for this, because this is on a whole nother level, but this is my realm. This is the things I like to do. The whole first portion of the extended, in essence, is like a coaching session, and it's literally giving what I would consider a treatment plan, you know what I'm saying, to identify each issue. But all of this information, I'm saying this like after the fact, but all of this information is like channeled information specifically about a particular couple, right? And one of the key signs, aside from what came out in the Dice of Resonance, is that the partner, if you resonate with this reading, your partner would either be an Aquarius or just an air sign. But Aquarius is coming up pretty strong. But if you feel led to, follow me over there. If not, it's totally cool, because I feel like what's in just the first portion of this is magnanimous, and I'm still kind of in awe by it. But now the video is really over. I love your freaking face again, and I will see you guys sooner than later.
Energy, about to get in and fuck up the industry.